She says she wants a trial, not money.
They just were making excuses. They said, oh, we have a low chance of prevailing at trial. We don't care. We want our Department of Justice to look for justice.
The Justice Department reaches a deal in principle with Boeing to allow the plane maker to avoid prosecution over two 737 MAX crashes that killed 346 people.
Boeing's share price is quietly climbing, but the factory floors in Everett and Charleston feel like funeral parlors. The moment President Trump's tariff barrage ricocheted overseas, Beijing slammed the brakes on new jet deliveries. Now 40,000 American paychecks hover one signature away from extinction. Inside company briefings, executives boast of a fresh $1.1 billion safety fund. Outside, workers watch the sky they helped fill grow eerily empty. For a century, Boeing's rivets, wings, and dreams all carried a Made in USA stamp. Tonight, that label is peeling off faster than wet paint. If the nation's flagship exporter can taxi to the nearest exit, what's to stop an entire fleet of U.S. industry from following it into the clouds and leaving Main Street grounded forever? Threat level 5, red light runway.
They plan to resume deliveries to China starting next month. You guys know how this works. They plan to resume deliveries to China. Let's see what's going on in terms of the trade war between the U.S. and China. And
April 15th, 2025 was supposed to signal revival. Boeing's board toasted the prospect of reopening China's pipeline for the 737 MAX. Hours later, Beijing froze every pending delivery, slapping an embargo that leaves more than 130 factory-fresh jets baking on the tarmac. Early signs suggest the halt isn't a negotiating ploy, it's a pressure vice. Each idle jet bleeds roughly $140 million in sunk costs, and storage lots around Seattle are so crammed that mechanics joke they're parking wings on wings. Suppliers feel the squeeze first. Spirit Aerosystems just filed notice to furlough 900 machinists. Alcoa hiked fuselage-grade aluminum by 18%, citing tariff turbulence. If this trend continues, Boeing's monthly burn could top $2.7 billion. Money that once funded R&D now vaporizes in rent for unused hangars. Sources warn the FAA's production cap of 38 MAX airframes a month may tighten because inspectors can't clear planes destined for embargoed zones. That leaves finished jets stuck in certification limbo, swelling inventory but not revenue. Meanwhile, foreign competitors smell blood. Airbus sales teams flashed a delivery within 6 months, offered a China Southern, dangling the A321XLR as a tariff-free alternative. If just 5 Chinese carriers defect, analysts project Boeing could lose 12% of its global order book in a single quarter. This standoff began as tariff leverage. It's fast mutating into an existential chokehold. The question isn't whether Boeing can ride out a bad quarter, it's how long a flagship can tread water while its biggest runway turns red. Next domino. What happens when those stranded jets turn from assets into hazardous waste? Threat level 4, supply chain strangle. Sources warn the pain is no longer measured in balance sheet red ink, but in missing bolts and empty railcars. 2 weeks after Beijing's embargo, a federal appeals court restored the full arsenal of Trump-era duties. Overnight, raw material prices for aerospace alloys leapt 12% and specialty fasteners shot up 22%. For a single 787 Dreamliner, that's an extra $4.8 million in metal before the first rivet is driven. If this trend continues, the dominoes will fall far from corporate headquarters. In Wichita, a titanium forging plant has idled its hot press line. Managers admit their next ingot shipment is somewhere in the Pacific, waiting on paperwork. In Italy, Leonardo's fuselage section for the 777-9 sits half-finished because German chem suppliers can't move heat-cure adhesives through customs at the new tariff rate. Every stalled subassembly widens the delivery gap, forcing Boeing to cannibalize parts from test aircraft just to keep one production line breathing. Across the Atlantic, EU negotiators are brandishing a blunt instrument. Cancel the bloc's tentative $33 billion wide-body package unless tariffs thaw by July. Losing that order would erase the equivalent of 18 months of revenue from Boeing's ledger and hand Airbus an uncontested sweep of Europe's long-haul market. Early signs suggest the strain is spreading beyond aerospace. Rail carriers now prioritize grain exports over oversized fuselage sections because penalties on late agricultural shipments eclipse the profit of a jet component. If the arteries that feed Boeing collapse under tariff pressure, how many days remain before the heart of America's manufacturing engine flatlines, and who counts the seconds when the ventilator clicks off? Threat Level 3. Factory freeze. The FAA's production cap, originally a safety tourniquet, has calcified into a cast made of red tape. Boeing cannot push past 38 MAX jets a month. Yet every additional aircraft stuck on the line drains roughly $30 million in unrecoverable cash. Parking lots outside Everett now resemble aluminum graveyards, wings jutting over chain link like tombstones for $14 billion in unsold inventory. Inside the plants, the silence is louder than riveting guns ever were. Third-shift electricians in Charleston opened their pay stubs to find temporary furlough printed where overtime once sat. State officials warn that if output stays flat, Washington's Treasury will forfeit $1.2 billion in aerospace-linked tax revenue next fiscal year, enough to fund every community college in the state with change left over. Meanwhile, Seattle's Port Authority just reported a 47% drop in oversized cargo traffic as fuselage sections idle at foreign docks. Rail unions, sensing the slowdown, shelved expansion talks and began drafting layoff lists that stretch 4 pages. Early signs suggest local suppliers are days, not weeks, from default. A single canceled wing order can bankrupt a carbon fiber startup with no other customer pipeline. If this stationary assembly line becomes the new normal, the next fault line runs straight through America's skill base. Generations of aerospace welders and avionics techs could scatter into unrelated trades or abroad, taking decades of tacit knowledge with them. And once that human capital wheels its toolboxes out the loading dock, who exactly will be left to restart the engines? Threat Level 2. Global power pivot. While Boeing's assembly lines crawl, competitors sprint. In Paris, Airbus executives toast a surprise memorandum with Emirates, an extra $42 billion for A350s that were once Boeing's to lose. Shanghai's Comac, long dismissed as a paper airplane, just unveiled a leasing package that lets carriers defer payments until tariffs cool. 6 Southeast Asian airlines signed within a week. The bait? U.S.-built jets now carry a crippling 125% duty the moment they cross most foreign customs, turning every 787 into a flying surcharge. Defense planners are rattled. Replacement boom assemblies for the KC-46 tanker, precision-milled in Kansas, must now circle 2 oceans before final fit-up in Okinawa. A single shipment delay can ground a refueling squadron, and Pentagon auditors whisper that operational readiness has become a polite fiction. Market share tells the same story in starker ink. For the first time since 1997, America's slice of new commercial jet orders has slipped below 25%, and Wall Street models predict a plunge to 19% if sanctions linger through next spring. Every lost contract reroutes not just cash, but innovation. Avionics startups in Austin are relocating to Toulouse incubators, chasing the gravitational pull of guaranteed build slots. Early signs suggest a geopolitical aftershock. Trade ministers from Brazil to Bahrain now treat Airbus offsets as diplomatic currency, while Boeing's once-coveted plant visits vanish from itineraries. If the United States cedes the clouds to foreign makers, who exactly guards the ground economy that depends on them? Threat Level 1. Aerospace abdication. The talent drain has begun. LinkedIn data show a 38% spike in U.S. aerospace resumes flagged, open to relocation, and recruiters in Montreal, Hamburg, and Singapore are flooding inboxes with signing bonuses that dwarf domestic offers. Boeing alumni, once bound by neighborhood mortgages and Little League schedules, are packing passports. If the exodus holds, economists warn of a brain export tipping point by 2028 when more American aeronautical engineers will work abroad than at home. Universities feel the vacuum next. Purdue Embry-Riddle and MIT report internship pipelines collapsing as local suppliers/co-op slots. To keep enrollment alive, deans are drafting exchange programs straight to Tianjin and Toulouse. That means the next generation of avionics breakthroughs, quantum sensors, hydrogen cryotanks, could debut under foreign flags while U.S. labs chase grants that no longer cover the rent. Macro models from the St. Louis Fed paint an even bleaker contour. If aerospace leadership flips permanently, the knock-on hit to allied industries, composites, titanium mining, precision robotics could siphon $180 billion from American GDP within a decade. That drag equals wiping out every wage gain from the last 2 federal tax cuts. Boards may shrug, investors may adapt, but communities cannot migrate. When the assembly whistles fall silent and the last badge is scanned out, Main Street's neon will dim one bulb at a time. If a nation loses the sky it built, can it still call itself a manufacturing power or just a museum of past flight? The scoreboard doesn't lie. Tariffs sought to anchor industry at home. Yet Boeing's wings are flapping toward friendlier skies, and 40,000 American livelihoods may be the down payment. Lawmakers brand this corporate betrayal, but inside boardrooms it feels like Darwin, adapt or descend. If a century-old titan can unplug from its birthplace while its stock ticks upward, who's really steering the nation's economic destiny, elected leaders or migrating capital? In the hush that follows the last rivet, Main Street will search the horizon for a silhouette that may never return. And here's the twist. When Made in USA is just another optional sticker, does patriotism still prop up the factory walls? Or do those walls fall the first time profit shrugs?